And so I want to come to you, Sandra Bernard-Bastien, Chief Communications Officer of the Children's Services Council in Broward County, and to find out about some of the ways that people can participate in the back-to-school events or help with these back-to-school events and programs that are available to help parents and students going into the school year.
Thank you so much for the opportunity. Good morning, listeners. So, for the fifth year, the Children's Services Council, cognizant of the fact that many families aren't able to afford back-to-school supplies or to outfit their children to start school, we have partnered with the Children's Services Council. We've partnered with the social workers of the Broward School Board to identify children in need, and this was done before school closed for the summer. So we identified over 5,500 children who we made a commitment that we would make sure that they had new backpacks, new school supplies, new uniforms, and new shoes. And how we did this, the council put out a challenge to the community. They put $60,000 on the table, into the kitty as it were, and we have been making an appeal to the community at large. $35 outfits one child, and we've been asking the public to donate funds to this back-to-school drive. So all of this is very much well underway. In fact, yesterday at Lauderhill YMCA, we had an event where over 1,000 students attended, and they were given backpacks.
Excellent.
Free. Right. But these children have been identified as children in need. Next weekend, on the 14th and the 15th, we will have several other events to make sure that the other set of kids get their supplies. We continue to raise funds for this because, of course, the budget is close to $200,000, and so we have been raising funds to meet and surpass that $140,000 that's needed. When kids get to school, if they were not identified before school closed and they do not have new uniforms, they do not have backpacks, they are advised to touch base with their social worker, who will have some additional backpacks that can be distributed to them. And so that's what we have been doing during the summer. For the Children's Services Council, we fund a myriad of programs throughout the school system in Broward. And so if parents need to find after-school programming for their children, they can't afford it, again, speak to your school principal, speak to your school social worker, speak to your teacher to find out what programs are available in your school for after-school care, for after-school homework assistance, because these programs are funded by the CSC.
Excellent. And what are some of the agencies that you fund? And can you mention some of the programs just so they have a better idea about the services that are out there for them?
So I always advise folks everybody now has a mobile device. They can go to our website at the CSC, www.cscbroward.org. Some of the agencies that we fund, which the public would be most familiar with, would be the YMCA, the Boys and Girls Club, Healthy Mothers, Healthy Children, Kids in Distress. Memorial Healthcare System in the South provides a lot of programming for youth, middle school and high school kids, and those programs are well known to the folks in the South. But a list of all of our programs and a list of all of our providers can easily be found on our website, www.cscbroward.org.
And you mentioned that you still are trying to get funds to support that back-to-school campaign. For those who'd like to donate, how would they do that?
So checks should be made payable to the Community Foundation of Broward County. Why? Because the CSC is a government agency, and if you hope to get your tax relief when you fill out your tax return in 2016, it's best that you make the check payable to a 501c3. So the check should be made payable to the Community Foundation of Broward County, a partner in this endeavor. On the memo line, just put CSC back to school. $35 outfits one child. That check should then be sent to Sandra Bernard-Bastien, Children's Services Council of Broward County, 6600 West Commercial Boulevard, Lauderhill, Florida, 333 All of that information is again available on our website, www.cscbroward.org.
And I certainly have to let our listeners know that your website is very well organized, and it's easy to find information there, as well as one of the few sites I've seen that list all the staff members with their phone numbers and correct email addresses. And so that's quite an accomplishment in itself. If you just turned on your radio, this is Community Voices on 99 Jamz. I'm Cheryl Mizell, your host, and this morning my guests are Representative Cynthia Stafford of District 109, Sandra Bernard-Bastien, Chief Communications Officer for the Children's Services Council of Broward County, Lakeisha Gray, Founder and Executive Director of Get Scholarship Ready, and via phone in our next segment we'll have Lydia Sandoval. She is the Deputy Director of Immunizations of the Florida Department of Health in Miami-Dade County. Our hashtag for this show is Back to School. You can join the conversation by following us on Facebook or Twitter at Cheryl Mizell. Sandra Bernard-Bastien, Chief Communications Officer of the Children's Services Council in Broward County. You mentioned earlier about after-school programs.
We fund those programs, and of course, folks must understand that the CSC does not actually provide the services.
Sure.
But so we fund entities to provide those services. So quite a few of the programs at schools, elementary, middle, and even high schools. Many of those programs are in fact funded by the CSC, and they're provided by, again, Kids in Distress, After School Inc. Some cities also provide after-school programming with our dollars. The City of Hollywood, the City of Miramar, the First Baptist Church at Piney Grove has some funds from us to provide the service. Sunshine After School, Child Care, the South Cluster Children's Services. So many of the programs at your schools, particularly in schools that are Title I schools, many of those after-school programs are funded by the CSC, designed specifically for folks who they cannot afford to pay exorbitant fees for their children to have this service. So the CSC has stepped in to make sure that the kids in safe surroundings and surroundings that can help them with their homework, that can give them a snack and talk about, and sometimes, make sure that there's a walk during the time that you're sitting at the computer, you get up, you walk around the classroom.
Yes. Really
an enriched program.
Well, it sounds like the Children's Services Council is certainly putting its money in the right places. And those programs, especially you talk about just encouraging kids to get up from the computer and walk. Even myself, I sit down in front of the computer and I have to just put little alarms to remind me you really have to get up and move around, because it's not good just to sit there. Your feet swell up and everything else happens. So
your blood flow to your brain is better, I think, when you get up and walk around a little bit.
Absolutely. Walk out the door and come back in. New ideas just somehow come into my head. I'm like, oh, yes. Just seeing the room from a different perspective helps. So certainly.
Yeah, Cheryl, I also wanted to add that a lot of our after-school program deals specifically with children with special needs. So Ann Stork Center, ARC of Broward Children's Center, the Center for Hearing and Communication, Smith Community Mental Health, United Cerebral Palsy, those, and the Y, of course, those agencies provide after-school programming for special populations. So that's an important footnote.
Absolutely. And can you give our listeners a phone number where they can reach out to the Children's Services Council in case they can't find information that they're looking for on your website?
Of course, 954-377-1000. The website, www.cscbroward.org. You can also find us on Facebook, the Children's Services Council of Broward County. We get a lot of information out via social media. And the telephone number again, 954-377-1000.
Sandra, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we understand you won't be able to stay with us for the next segment because you've got to get out there in the community. But we do thank you for coming on and sharing that information with us this morning.
Thank you so much, Cheryl, for having me.
My guest this morning for this segment have been Representative Cynthia Stafford with District 109, Sandra Bernard-Bastien, Chief Communications Officer of the Children's Services Council of Broward County, Lakeisha Gray, Founder and Executive Director of Get Scholarship Ready, and via phone next segment we'll have Lydia Sandoval, Deputy Director of Immunizations of the Florida Department of Health with Miami-Dade County. If you just tuned in, I'm Cheryl Mizell, and this is Community Voices, our weekly public affairs talk show that addresses issues and concerns in South Florida. Stay close and we'll continue our discussion right here on 99 Jamz.